All right, so to get started practicing your modes, what I suggest that you do is just go through your diatonic seventh chords in your left hand and play the mode with your right hand, right, that corresponds to that chord. Remember, your diatonic seventh chords are just when you build seventh chords off of each note of the scale using only notes from that scale. So here we go. There's one major seven, right, and we just play that Ionian mode along with it. Here's my 2 chord. I play Dorian with it. 3 Phrygian, 4 Lydian, 5 Mixolydian, 6 Aeolian, 7 Locrian, and then finally major again. Now, you should try doing this in other keys. Like, let's say we're going to do it in the key of D. All right? There's my 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So you see how I'm using the notes from that D major scale? And then I would play, there's my Ionian mode. Now fingering-wise, see how I'm using the same fingering for that D major scale there? That's going to usually work, all right, when you're starting on a white note like this. But now here, check this out. When I go to F sharp, I could do that. So you see how it's the same fingering as my D major scale, right? I would normally cross over. So what I'm saying is that whatever finger would normally go on that scale at that point, so it'd be 3, and I would continue, you could use that fingering most of the time. So when I go to G, oops. When I go to A, I can start with my second finger. Now, I'm probably going to do something like 1 instead. But the point is, if you're getting confused as to what your fingering should be, just figure out what finger you would have normally used when playing that major scale, and you can start there. At least that'll get you going. All right, so here's my 3 chord, Phrygian, 4 Lydian, 5 Mixolydian, 6 Aeolian, and then 7 my Locrian mode, and then back to my D major scale. Now, that's one way in which you can practice them. So you can just basically go through all of your different keys, okay, and then you can work through that. I would suggest that you do that, but this is how I would do it. Don't worry about trying to go through all 12 keys every time you sit down and practice. Because if you're going to do everything, all 12 keys, every time you sit down and practice, you're going to end up practicing 8 hours a day before you even get to playing a song. You're going to do every exercise in all 12 keys. Instead, what you can do is make cards for yourself. Make 4 different cards for yourself that have 3 different keys on them. And don't just go C, C sharp, D, 1, 2, 3, all right? Do something like C, F sharp, and A as one chord, as one card. The other one would be C sharp, E, and A flat, okay? My point is, take the 12 chromatic notes, the 12 keys, break them down into 4 groups of 3 roots each, okay? And then practice those 3 keys, right, when you sit down and practice. So every 4 days, you're cycling through all 12 keys. Does that make sense? So the first day, you do the first card, which would be the key of C, key of F sharp, and the key of A flat. Right? The next day, you do C sharp, E, and B flat. Okay? So you do those 3 keys. All right. Now, you can also isolate and just focus on a specific mode. And I would suggest that you do this, especially focus on that Dorian mode, focus on that Mixolydian mode. Really get those down. So what you could do is you could start with a very simple, I like doing this, just a root 5 in the left hand, and then do a root 3 and 7, and then do your Dorian mode. Okay, so here's my C Dorian mode. Okay, and then this will help because what you can do is you can focus and you could say, all right, Dorian is the 2nd scale degree from the major scale. So it'll make it easy for you to be able to just isolate that rather than having to bounce back and forth between different modes. So, okay, I want to do A flat Dorian. All right, well, A flat is the 2nd note of what scale? Just go down a whole step, and there it is, G flat. So if I play a G flat major scale, starting on A flat, there's my Dorian mode. I can do, just roots. I can do a chord with that. If you take a look at some of those rootless chord voicings in the piano chords bundle, that's what I'm doing here. G. Right? That's off of the F major scale. Do the same thing for your dominant 7th chords. Let's take B flat. Just do 3, 7, 9. That's a nice chord voicing. So your Mixolydian scale is the 5th scale degree. All right? It's the 5th mode of the major scale. So B flat is the 5th of what key? It's the 5th of E flat. You could count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half steps, and then you get to your root. So play an E flat major scale, starting on B flat. Or an easier way of thinking about that is, well, it's just your B flat major scale with a flatted 7th. I hope that you're realizing that you really have to know your major scales, okay? If you want something that you should practice every time you sit down at the piano, go through those major scales, all right? It should only take you about 5-10 minutes max to go through all 12 of them real quickly. Do that, you'll thank yourself for doing that. All right, so there's my B flat Mixolydian scale. And what you can start to do is start to loosen up your improvisation. Just have some fun with that scale. Okay? See, I'm just freely just trying some different ideas. Let's do E. Okay? There's my E Mixolydian scale. Okay? So, to summarize, what you can do is you can go through the major scale, do each of the diatonic chords, and then do the mode along with them. That's one good exercise that you should practice, and I would suggest doing that at least a few times to get comfortable doing that. You can also isolate one particular mode, and I would suggest that you do that as well. So maybe you could do it as one mode per day. So Mondays is Ionian, and that's where you really focus on your major scales. Tuesdays is Dorian. Wednesdays is Phrygian. Thursdays is Lydian. Friday is Mixolydian. Saturday is Aeolian, and Sunday is a Locrian day. So you can have it go along with the week. Or you could say, hey, you know what, this week I'm just going to focus on my Dorian modes and just do all your different Dorian modes. All right, and like I said, don't just do them in order, like, okay, let me do C, then D, then E, or let me do C, then C sharp, or just by the circle of fifths. Do them in random order, because when you get into the real world and you're playing, chords are not always going to move by the circle of fifths, or move by step, or by third. They're going to move all over the place. So you want to get comfortable being able to just, boom, F Dorian, oh, C sharp Dorian, hey, B flat Dorian, okay? Be able to move into those different keys, all right? So when we come back, I'm going to focus on each mode individually and talk about the avoid notes and just, stuff specific to each mode. So see you in a minute.